Mr. President,
Senator from Texas.
I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, in a moment I'm going to propound a unanimous consent request. But before I do so, I want to make some brief observations. Earlier this month, Democrats passed their extreme partisan reconciliation bill, a bill that President Biden signed into law. When the Senate was considering the bill, I introduced an amendment to ensure that illegal aliens would not receive the $1,400 taxpayer payments provided in the bill. Every single Democrat in this body voted against that amendment. It failed by a single vote. If even one Senate Democrat had voted for that amendment, it would have passed. At the time, Senator Durbin incorrectly told this chamber that no illegal aliens would receive stimulus checks under this bill. It was clear then, and it has now been even more clear now, that that statement was very much in error, as even Senator Durbin has admitted. Last Thursday, I gave my Democratic colleagues a chance for a do-over once it became clear that there was a very substantial number of illegal aliens who would be receiving these checks. Unfortunately, the Democrats objected again and put themselves on record that they are just fine with millions of illegal immigrants getting taxpayer stimulus checks. There's been some debate as to the exact number, but just this week, the Center for Immigration Studies released an economic report that cataloged we are indeed talking about millions of illegal immigrants who are receiving these checks. At the same time we were debating this partisan reconciliation bill, the Senate considered another amendment, which I had introduced and Senator Cassidy had introduced, to prevent the payments from going to criminals currently incarcerated in prison. Again, unfortunately and astonishingly, every single Democrat in this chamber voted against it. It failed by a single vote. If even one Democrat had demonstrated the common sense to say, violent criminals who are currently in prison right now today shouldn't be getting $1,400 taxpayer stimulus checks, that amendment would have passed. But every Democrat lined up in a party-line partisan vote to say no. Today, I'm going to give Democrats another chance at a do-over, to recognize that that extreme position is a position, frankly, none of us could go home and explain to our constituents without being laughed at, even in the bluest of states. And I'm going to give an opportunity in this instance for Democrats to vote on stopping the funds going to criminals currently incarcerated and sending those funds instead to the Crime Victims Fund, a program that is run by the Department of Justice to compensate victims of crime. So this is a choice that Democrats have. Do you want $1,400 checks going to criminals in prison, or do you want instead to direct those funds to the victims of crime that have suffered at the hands of those criminals? Mr. President, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S-928, introduced earlier today. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.